Ron Howard's life looks gentle from a distance, shaped by familiar faces, comforting stories, and films that feel deeply human. For decades, he has been present in American culture in a way that feels almost personal, as if audiences grew up alongside him. Yet behind that steady presence is a life defined by pressure, early responsibility, disappointment, and quiet endurance. His journey is not about dramatic rebellion or public collapse, but about persistence, adaptability, and emotional restraint. From a childhood spent working instead of playing, to professional setbacks that tested his confidence, Ron Howard learned how to move through difficulty without hardening. His story is less about fame and more about survival with grace, showing how consistency and kindness can become a form of strength. Growing up too soon. Ron Howard entered the entertainment world before he could understand it. Born to working actors, his childhood was shaped by uncertainty and responsibility rather than innocence. Sets replaced playgrounds, and sound stages became classrooms. While other children learned through shared experiences, Ron's education happened in fragments between takes. The environment was structured and safe, yet emotionally narrow. He later described it as protected, but confining, a place where everything was managed but little was spontaneous. Fame arrived before self-awareness, leaving him visible but isolated. Adults praised him, yet peers rarely understood him. This early exposure taught discipline and professionalism, but it also required emotional self-control far beyond his years. Growing up under constant observation meant learning how to behave before learning who he was. That imbalance shaped his personality, fostering caution and introspection that would follow him into adulthood. Becoming America's child. At a young age, Ron Howard became a symbol of family television, a role that brought national affection but personal loneliness. On screen, he represented warmth and innocence. Off-screen, he struggled to fit in. Other children often teased him, turning his fame into a source of ridicule. The contrast between public love and private isolation widened as he grew. Being recognized everywhere did not translate into belonging anywhere. The role that defined his early success also limited how others saw him. Casting directors struggled to imagine him beyond that familiar image. What audiences embraced became an obstacle professionally. For Ron, this created early doubt. He wondered whether success had already peaked before adulthood truly began. The emotional toll was subtle but persistent, shaping a quiet fear of being trapped by expectations he did not choose. Facing early professional rejection. As childhood roles faded, Ron Howard encountered an industry quick to move on. Short-lived projects failed to gain traction, and with each disappointment came self-blame. Rather than attributing failure to circumstance, he internalized it. This period tested his confidence deeply. The praise that once came easily was replaced by silence. He watched opportunities slip by while questioning his worth. For someone raised to be reliable and agreeable, rejection felt personal. Yet this stage also planted the seeds of reinvention. Instead of reacting with bitterness, Ron observed, he paid attention to how sets functioned, how stories were shaped, and how leadership worked behind the camera. These quiet observations would later guide his transition. In this uncertain phase, he learned that survival in entertainment required flexibility, not entitlement. Success with a new face. A new role brought renewed visibility, but not without complication. As part of a popular ensemble, Ron found himself overshadowed by a co-star whose character captured the cultural moment. Comparisons became routine, and questions about relevance surfaced publicly. While he handled these moments with composure, the emotional impact lingered. Being seen as second place on a successful project challenged his self-image. Yet this experience also clarified something important. Recognition was unpredictable, and external validation could vanish without warning. Instead of competing for attention, Ron chose to redirect his energy. He accepted that his future might not be defined by visibility alone. This realization marked a quiet turning point, pushing him toward creative control rather than performance. Choosing the director's chair. Rather than fighting typecasting, Ron Howard shifted direction entirely. He stepped behind the camera, trading familiarity for uncertainty. Directing required a different kind of authority, one built on preparation, trust, and vision. He studied relentlessly, learning from experienced filmmakers and refining his instincts. Early directing projects proved his capability, earning respect rather than skepticism. This transition was not dramatic, but deliberate. It allowed him to redefine his identity on his own terms. No longer dependent on being seen, he focused on storytelling. This shift restored confidence not through applause, but through craftsmanship. By choosing a path that valued longevity over spotlight, Ron found stability. The move reflected emotional maturity, embracing growth rather than clinging to what once worked. The physical and emotional toll of ambition. Major directing projects brought success, but also exhaustion. Long hours, intense pressure, and constant responsibility strained his health. One project pushed him to physical collapse, a clear sign that determination alone had limits. Another tested him emotionally, facing criticism before release and carrying the weight of expectations. These experiences revealed the hidden cost of leadership. While audiences saw polished films and awards, Ron felt the accumulated fatigue. Creative responsibility meant absorbing stress quietly, protecting cast and crew while managing his own doubt. The toll was invisible, but real. These moments taught him the importance of pacing and self-awareness. Success did not eliminate vulnerability. Instead, it magnified the need for balance, a lesson he learned through exhaustion rather than instruction. When risks do not pay off, not every project found its audience. Some films underperformed, others faced public criticism. One high-profile disappointment shook his confidence deeply, bringing public scrutiny and personal discouragement. For a moment, he considered stepping away from directing altogether. Failure felt heavier because it followed years of careful work. It challenged the belief that experience guaranteed stability. These setbacks reminded him that creativity always involves risk. No amount of preparation could ensure success. What mattered was resilience. Ron absorbed these disappointments without spectacle, choosing reflection over retreat. He learned to separate self-worth from outcomes. These moments reinforced humility and reinforced his respect for the unpredictable nature of storytelling. Marriage as a quiet anchor. Throughout decades of change, Ron Howard's marriage provided consistency. Entering adulthood together, he and his wife faced challenges shaped by absence, pressure, and evolving identities. Their relationship was not untouched by strain, but it endured through honesty and effort. They chose communication over avoidance, treating difficulties as shared responsibility rather than private burden. Raising children while navigating fame required boundaries and patience. There were moments of distance, but never abandonment. Their commitment was not defined by perfection, but persistence. In an industry known for instability, their partnership became a refuge. It grounded Ron emotionally, offering a sense of belonging that fame never could. Marriage became a place where he was not evaluated, only understood. Family trials and hard choices. Ron Howard's loyalty extended deeply into family, even when it required painful decisions. Confronting a loved one's addiction forced him into an ultimatum that risked loss in pursuit of hope. The decision was driven by love rather than control, and it demanded emotional courage. Watching recovery unfold reaffirmed the value of boundaries paired with compassion. Later, he faced the gradual loss of his parents, figures who understood his life before fame. Their passing marked the end of an era, leaving a quiet emptiness. Grief arrived without cameras, experienced privately. These losses reshaped his sense of time and gratitude, reinforcing the importance of presence over achievement. Letting go of the past. The loss of longtime friends connected to his early career stirred reflection. These relationships were reminders of beginnings, of shared youth and possibility. Their absence felt like losing pieces of himself. Aging brought awareness that chapters close whether or not we are ready. Ron responded by honoring memory without clinging to it. He allowed himself to grieve while continuing forward. This balance reflected emotional growth. Rather than resisting change, he accepted it as part of living fully. Letting go became an act of respect, acknowledging what was without being trapped by it. A life shaped by peace. In later years, Ron Howard embraced a quieter rhythm. Success became less about scale and more about meaning. Projects were chosen for connection rather than obligation. Time was spent with family, enjoying moments that once felt rushed. Peace replaced ambition as the guiding force. This stage of life reflects survival through balance. He carries the knowledge earned from decades of pressure without being defined by it. His story is not one of dramatic transformation, but steady evolution. By choosing kindness, craft, and connection over bitterness, Ron Howard built a legacy rooted not just in film, but in humanity.